everyone. Welcome to Inside and Insight. My name is Esther Thomas, for those of you who are not familiar with me. So today I have a very interesting topic that I would like to speak to us about, and it's called creating room for growth. I know many persons, and I hear so many persons say, I'm ready to take my life to the next level. I want to see change in my life. I want to experience real growth and all of that thing. But one of the things I see often is that persons don't want the vulnerability and the sacrifice and the dedication and the discipline that growth requires. And so often I get questions like, Esther, how are you able to do this? How are you able to do that in so little time? How are you so disciplined and all of that? And one of the things I always tell people is that in order for me to grow, I had to become uncomfortable. And more I realized that people would prefer to be comfortable than prefer to grow. And I can understand why they would prefer to be comfortable, but then when you really sit and think about things, when you really sit and think about your life, when you sit and think about the talents that you possess, the gifts and the abilities, and how far you can go in this life, are you really willing to be comfortable rather than grow, rather than stretch, rather than become all that you can possibly become? And so I wanted to speak to us about growing, because the fact is many of us are in positions, many of us are in places, whether it be relationships, many of us are in careers, have careers or in positions where we shouldn't be at that place at this point in our lives. We should have gone further. We should have accomplished more. We should have done more. And the problem is we keep making excuses day after day, night after night. We keep blaming the husband or the wife or the child or the studies or school or job being demanding. But the question is, if you were really to sit and think about this, who would you be if you decided to stop making excuses? What best-selling book could you possibly write if you decided to stop making excuses? Like, what would you be able to accomplish if you really sat and decided in yourself that, look, from today I'm going to be focused, from today I'm going to be committed to becoming all that I can possibly be, and just stop making excuses off the bat? And I really want to speak to us about this, because I believe that if we make a decision to grow, if we come to that place where we say, you know what, I would have tried something and failed, or I have an idea, I'm not sure what the possibility of it being successful is, but I'm willing to take a risk. I am willing to expand my mind. I'm willing to open up my mind to the possibilities of being in a place that I'm not necessarily familiar with. But because I want to see what's on the other side of my fear, because I want to see what's on the other side of my anxiety, because I want to see what's on the other side of doubt or people criticizing me, then I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to take this risk. And I prefer to do that than not do it and then regret 5 years down the line or 10 years later that I didn't, accomplish that goal, or I didn't take that risk, or I didn't step my foot forward, I didn't make the move. And so I'm speaking to us on this subject matter today. And so I have some notes here that I'd like to share with you. And the first thing is, one, in order to create room for growth, you're going to have to become comfortable with being the least liked or the least supported. Now, as human beings, we like that sense of belonging. We like to know that we are supported. We like to know that we are loved. We like to know that when we make a decision, we have people behind of us cheering us on. And it motivates us. Let's be honest, it motivates us, it inspires us, and it really encourages us. But when you are growing, we have to understand that there will be times, more often than not, when the journey becomes lonely. Prior to growing, you would have been comfortable and you would have found yourself in a sphere or in an environment where everybody thought just like you. But when you begin to grow, you begin to see things from a different perspective. When you grow, you process things differently. When you grow, you think differently. You think from a higher level. And so you will find that when you begin to grow into who you're becoming, or grow into the change that you want to see, or the change that you desire in your life, people will look at you like, well, who does she think she is? Or who does he think he is? Well, all of a sudden you think you're better than people, and you're going to have to be comfortable with that. Why? Because they were comfortable with you on level A. But now your mind is open, you're becoming more mature, you're understanding that, look, I didn't just come to this earth to play games and just have a job, a 9 to 5, start a family, and then die. No. There's a change that I need to impact in the earth. There are businesses that I need to create that could cure diseases. There's so many things that I can do, and if I choose not to do it, or if I choose not to grow, then I leave this earth defeating the purpose of my birth. And so you're going to have to be comfortable with going alone. The journey is steep. The journey is hard. The journey is lonely. The journey sometimes feel like it doesn't even make any sense. And more often than not, you want to revert to the place that you are coming from. But you have to be so focused and so disciplined to understand that, look, even if I'm the first person that's walking this path, I believe that once I'm committed to growth, that I will see fruitful results. And the next point is, everybody is comfortable around you until you start growing. Listen to me. Listen to me. I know it very well. When you're growing, you speak differently. And even if you try to hide your growth, your speech will betray you. Your conversations will betray you. Your vocabulary will betray you. Your knowledge will betray you. The very way you carry yourself, your mannerisms will betray you. And so when you begin to speak, and when you begin to provide ideas, and when you begin to give suggestions to persons, it will make them uncomfortable. Why? Because it opens up their eyes to the fact that they've been boxed in all along, while there was always the opportunity for growth, always the opportunity to improve themselves, always the opportunity to go higher. But guess what? They did not. And it will make them uncomfortable. And what you will realize is that even your conversations, for example, if you used to speak to persons on a daily basis, a particular person on a daily basis, but your life changes, your trajectory changes, and you are now on an upward climb towards growth, you'll realize that you no longer speak to that person as frequent as you used to. And even when you do speak to them, the conversation is not the same. And if that person decides to have the same conversations that you used to have in the season of your growth, then it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you feel awkward. And sooner or later that conversation ends, and so does that friendship. And you have to be comfortable with that. If you're gonna go somewhere that you've never been before, you're gonna have to endure discomfort. The next thing, growth requires honesty and vulnerability. Now let me explain this, because I realize that some people want growth, but they don't want to be vulnerable. And growth will expose the fact that you might have seemed as though you were prepared all along, and you were knowledgeable of a particular thing or experienced in a particular field. But growth will tell you that all that you've been doing for the past 5 years or the past 10 years, while everybody was congratulating and celebrating you, it will tell you that everything you've been doing was wrong. And now you would have to stop, think, and go back down memory lane. You may have to revise some things. You may have to unlearn some things and relearn some things. And to do that, you're going to have to be vulnerable. You're going to have to be honest with yourself to say, look, I thought I knew this, but I didn't. It could be in a relationship. You want to grow, but you're in a relationship with someone who is not on the same playing field with you. Mentally, you can't agree. Professionally, it's just not working out. And that person is doing you more harm than good by saying, we're in a relationship, or you committing yourself to being in a relationship with that person. And you're gonna have to be honest enough to say, well, I think that our lives could have gone in a particular way 5 years ago, but 5 years later I'm growing. 5 years later I'm evolving. 5 years later I'm more mature. 5 years later I've learned so much that I would be deceiving myself to believe that I'm okay and I have reached my optimum level. You would be deceiving yourself to believe that you've accomplished something when all along you've been living a lie. And you're gonna have to get to that place. You're gonna have to be vulnerable to say, look, I failed, or look, I messed up. You're gonna have to be vulnerable to say, I need help. You're gonna have to be vulnerable and honest enough with yourself to say, look, I'm at point B right now. My aim is to get to point C. I've been trying to do that for the last 20 years, but it's just not working out. I've been trying to do this for the last 3 months, but it's just not working out. And you're gonna have to accept the fact that the strides that you were persuading everyone that you made, or even deceiving yourself that you made, you really didn't make that stride. And you're gonna have to be open to receive correction, and open to receive love, and open to receive guidance. But if you're not vulnerable and you're not honest, whenever correction comes, and whenever love comes, whenever peace comes, whenever opportunity for growth comes, you always reject it. Because pride says, you know, I've been doing this on my own for the past 5 years, and I think I got this. But the truth is, you've been doing it wrong. And you might have been doing something or implementing a strategy, but that strategy is not bearing fruit. That strategy does not positively affect your life. And so, do you prefer to be egotistical and not receive the love, or would you prefer to admit that I thought I knew what I was doing, but I didn't? And so I need to create room for growth. Another thing that I want to tell you, growth makes a demand on your humility. Look, you have to be humble when you're growing. Because when you're growing, you could be at your peak. You could be at the top of the mountain. And sometimes to grow, life would cause you to have to take a drop right down to the bottom of the valley to relearn some things, to work on yourself, to work on your heart, to work on some soul issues, to go back to school, to sit under someone who is actually your junior, just to ensure that you grow according to your purpose, according to your vision, according to your mission. Listen to me. You're going to have to be humble on this journey. It's not about ego. It's not about pride. It's not about status. It's not about your accolade. It's not about anything of that sort. It's being open enough, being childlike enough to say, yes, I will receive the help. Yes, I will receive the assistance. Yes, show me. Yes, let me do it. And so we're speaking about growth, and we're speaking about creating room for growth. But some of you may be asking, okay, then I get what you're saying. You have to be humble. You have to not be egotistical. You have to be vulnerable and all of that. But how do we really create that space? And so there are 5 ways I believe that we can create room for growth. And the first one being to introspect. And when you introspect, what you're basically doing is looking inside of you. Because the truth is, nobody knows you better than you know yourself. And so you're going to have to look inside of you. And when you look in, you're going to see good potential and you're going to see bad potential. And what you want to do is to take those bad potential by the root and pluck them out. And some of those bad potentials are fear and anxiety and low self-esteem and all of that jazz. And they're there, right? And you want to grow. And so in order for you to take that leap, in order for you to take that step forward, you're going to have to kick those things out. Some of you are wanting to grow. Some of you are wanting to start a business. Some of you are wanting to leave your current job. Some of you may be wanting to write a book or relocate to another country, but at the back of your head, you're thinking, well, what will this person say if I step out? Will I be criticized? Will people laugh at me? Will people judge me? Guess what, honey? If you do it, they may criticize. And if you don't do it, they're still gonna criticize. So you have to be intentional about your growth. You have to be intentional about where you see yourself, where you want to go, what you want to achieve. And it doesn't matter who criticizes or who laughs or who condemns or who decides that they don't want to walk with you on this journey anymore. You must be committed enough to your growth that you do it with your head held high, your shoulders squared, your face set like a flint, and you make up in your heart that this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to see it to the finish. You're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to stop thinking about what other people will think. That's not important. That's not important. What other people think has nothing to do with you. Other people's opinion of you have nothing to do with you. If you're going to create room for space, you have to remove that out of your space. Because when you remove other people's opinions and fears and anxiety, you can then replace that space with your voice. Right? If you keep listening to what everybody's saying and you keep focusing on fear, then sooner or later, guess what? You'll become so unacquainted with your voice. And that's not good. The second point, do your homework. Read more. Ask questions. Seek mentorship. You want to start a business in a particular industry, but you don't know how to? Find someone who has done it or is doing it and ask them questions. Find someone who has done it and it was successful. Research. Do all that you have to do. You want change, you want to grow, you want to expand, then you're going to have to get up from your seat. You're going to have to stop doing everything that you're comfortable doing. Your excuse may be, oh, well, I'm shy, I'm an introvert. Honey, you're going to have to get up and ask a question. You're going to have to get up and research some books based on the growth that you are required to do, based on the growth that you want to see in yourself, and read according to that. For example, you want to become a pastry chef. You can't commit your time every day 3 hours to reading romance novels because that doesn't help you. What might help is watching cooking videos or pastry videos, reading cookbooks, asking questions of persons who are successful in that industry, or even seeking mentorship from someone who is successful in that field. That's what you're going to have to do. It might be uncomfortable, but you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it. I remember early in my career, one of my managers said to me, you have the potential to be so successful. But in order for you to be successful, you're going to have to not be as shy as you are, and you're going to have to start asking questions. And guess what? When I started asking questions, and by the day, it didn't happen overnight, there were times where I really had to sit in front of the mirror and speak to myself and like, Esther, you can do this. And I would write down the questions that I want to ask and practice asking them. And when I go to them the following day, I would be bold and confident because I would have practiced, of course. And I would ask my questions. So you're going to have to do whatever it takes for you to grow. Whatever it takes for you to grow, you're going to have to do it. And guess what? That person may not like you, but if they have the information that you need, sweetheart, lap your tail and go and ask a question, because at the end, it's going to benefit you in the long run. The next one, assess your circle and make adjustments. You want to grow, but the people that you're surrounded by aren't interested in growing. And growing up, there's a popular adage that I was taught, and it says, bird of a feather flock together. It doesn't matter how successful you want to be. It doesn't matter how successful you think you're going to be. It doesn't matter your perception of growth and how much growth you think you're going to be able to accomplish. If all you do is surround yourself with people who are anti your growth or anti your vision or anti your mission, it is impossible for you to be successful. It is impossible for you to grow, because guess what? Every time you try to make 10 steps forward, you're going to pull you back. And so you're going to have to make a decision to either walk away or let them know, if I am willing to grow and you want to be with me, you're going to have to be willing to grow as well. And if you cannot commit to this growth journey, then hello, darling, bye-bye. You're going to have to say no. You're going to have to say goodbye. And so you have to assess your circle, assess your environment, assess your friendships, assess your relationship. Yes, you may be with a guy, or if in the case of a man, you may be with a woman for probably a period of 5 years, 10 years, a long-standing relationship. But if at 10 years down the road, you realize that, look, this relationship isn't working out, are you really going to commit to continuing that relationship, knowing that it's impeding on your growth? Knowing that you can be so much better off without being in that relationship? Are you really going to stay there? No. You can't afford to do that. When you're around people who have your best interests at heart, when you're around people, or when you're in circles or surrounded by people who are like-minded, they will ask you the hard questions. They will hold you accountable. They will put you in positions that provoke you to grow. And even if you want to take a day off, or a week off, or a month off, or a year off from growing, being in that circle, if all you see is growth, if all you hear is growth, if all you smell is growth, if all the questions that you're being asked lead to growth, then at some point in time, you're going to get your butt up, dust your feet, lace up your boots, and go and grow. You're going to do it. So your circle is so important if you're going to be growing in this season. Because think about it. Think about it. You have a room and you have a lot of clutter, right? You want to bring in a king-size bed. But in order to bring in the king-size bed, that means that you're going to have to remove the clutter that's taking up the additional space. Before, you might have had a full-size bed and you were comfortable with it then, but you're expanding, your family is growing. And so you're going to have to remove that clutter and the full-size bed so that when you bring in the king-size bed, it can fit perfectly. It's the same thing with your life. You're going to have to let go some friends. You're going to have to say goodbye to some friendships. Creating space for growth means that while you might have been able to party every weekend or spend money on clothes every weekend, that you're going to have to cut back. Because now you're making decisions that will lead to future investments. You're making decisions that are linked to your vision and linked to your mission. And what you want at the end of the day is that 5 years down the road, you're able to smile because of the decision you made to grow 5 years ago. And that's what you want. It's going to call on you to make sacrifices. They might be painful. You may have to change your lifestyle, but guess what? You're gonna have to do it. Look, assess your circle. And if the friends you have right now, if the relationship you're in right now, if the husband you have or the wife you have, or the buddies or the BFFs that you have do not provoke you to grow, do not hold you accountable for growth, then something is wrong. My next point, which is a very important point, create healthy boundaries. In order to create healthy boundaries, you must know what's worth protecting. You must know what's dear to you. You must know what's valuable to you. And that thing that you're protecting may be your mind, it may be your peace, it may be your time. And so creating a healthy boundary means that you understand the value of that thing so much that you're not going to let anybody impede on it. You're not going to let anybody dictate its present or its future. You're going to ensure that that thing has a voice and that thing is able to speak. And when that thing speaks, you listen. Creating healthy boundary means that you learn to say no and be comfortable with that and be okay with that and not chastise yourself for saying no. Creating healthy boundary means that you're going to have to prioritize you. And you're going to have to prioritize you, because if you're spending more time building yourself, developing yourself, reading, asking questions, seeking mentorship, you're not going to have time to do a lot of things, which probably makes absolutely no sense, that you used to do before. Right? You're going to have to commit to building healthy boundaries. Boundaries that allow you to know what's in your space. Boundaries that allow you to think in the realm and in the space and in the line of, look, this is what I want to accomplish by the end of this year. This is who I am. This is what I'm called to do. And if I am going to be committed to this journey, it simply means that there's some things I can't accept. It simply means that there's something that I have to do away with. Create healthy boundaries. The thing with creating healthy boundaries also is that you can't choose who you create boundaries for. It must be applicable to everyone across the board. And so if one of your boundaries is every 6 o'clock, at 6 o'clock p.m. every night, I'm going to commit to spending time with myself, to meditate, to develop my business plan over let's say a 3-month period or a 2-month period. You can't say that, okay, I will extend this boundary to this person, but I could repeal it if it's another person. You're going to have to be consistent. 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 Consistency is key. The truth of the matter really is you can be anything you want to be. You can go anywhere you want to go. You can do anything you want to do. You can grow. And there's so much room for growth once we create it. There's so much space for growth once we create it. Get out of your box. Get out of your shell. Step out of the box. Step out of the limits and get into the boxing ring. Take on the match of that dream. Take on the match of that career. Take on the match of that business and do it. You can do it if you put your mind to it. You have everything it takes. Look, stop trying to look for resources outside of yourself. Every single thing that you need is right in here. Right in here. And the last thing, be true to you. Be true to you. And by being true to you, what I'm speaking about is on this growth journey, while you grow, learn to extend grace to yourself. There are times when you would take a step. There are times when you may make a decision and realize, look, that really probably wasn't the best decision to make. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't beat up yourself. Extend grace to yourself. Just as you would have encouraged another person, encourage yourself. Lift your head up. Make yourself happy. And try again. You made a step. You fell down. Guess what? If you fall down, that's as low as you can possibly get. So you might as well just get up and keep moving. And so I hope that you were encouraged and I hope that you were inspired to create room for growth. I don't know where you are anticipating growth, or I don't know in what area of your life you want to grow. But what I can tell you is you will receive in life what you create space for. You get in life what you make room for. And so if you desire change, if you desire promotion, create space for it. Create room for it. I love you, and I'm looking forward to hanging with you again in my next video. What I'd like for you to do is to like this video, leave a comment if you were inspired and encouraged, and even share ways that you are creating room for growth. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell. That way, every time I post a video, you will be notified. So God bless, and I love you dearly. Thanks for hanging with me.